Okay, welcome to our closing call of 14 Days of Love. And thanks to everyone who's joined live, and welcome to those who are watching on catch up. So, what I would love to do to begin with, let me just get my gallery. There we go. To begin with, is just tune into some of those themes that we talked about. And I'm going to guide us in a short meditation that draws on some of those themes. So if you are in a position to do so, I encourage you to close your eyes and just find a comfortable place. Make sure you're comfortable. If you don't want to close your eyes, that's fine. Yeah. And just listen to my voice. If your mind wanders, bring it back to my voice, bring it back to your breath. Just try and stay present. So we're going to take a few moments now to come into the present, to be present, and to reflect on some of the themes that we talked about. So we talked about self-connection, and I'm inviting you right now to connect with yourself, with your breath, with your feelings. I often suggest it might be helpful to place a hand somewhere on your body, perhaps across your chest or your tummy, on your heart, to connect to your feelings. And allow your breath, just as you breathe in and out, allow your breath to take you inside. Connect you to the wise woman inside. This is your truth. This is your inner wisdom. This is your intuition. So this is self-connection. And I'd like to also touch on self-soothing. So if you're feeling busy or rushed or anxious or stressed, just use this moment to soothe yourself. Just notice if you can calm yourself down, reassure yourself, connect with some peace. And this is a form of self-parenting, which we also explored. So we are being a good parent to ourselves. We can reassure ourselves. We can soothe ourselves. I'm thinking about that phrase that we use with children when we say, "They're there. It's okay." Maybe we hug them. We do that maybe to our pets. We soothe. So if you get in touch with any feelings that need soothing, just maybe if you have your hands on your chest or your tummy, just press them gently, soothe yourself, parent yourself. And finally, this concept of self-love. This is self-loving, being here, showing up, connecting to self, soothing oneself. This is self-loving. So think about how you might have loved yourself today or shown yourself love today, and how maybe you didn't. Maybe you just fell short a little bit of self-care. So just hold those thoughts in your mind for a moment. I'd like you to comment on them in a moment. So how did you love yourself today? And how maybe did you fall short a little bit of loving yourself? So bring your focus back to your breath. Take some deep breaths, some more connection. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So if you're able to do so, it would be great if you could pop in the chat some ways in which you loved yourself today. And perhaps it was there anything where you fell short. For a few examples, I got outdoors in the sunshine, fresh air, met a friend, social connection. Yeah, just about managed to eat reasonably healthily. Where did I fall down a little bit? Drinking water. I didn't drink much water today at all. And I didn't take enough breaks, enough sort of computer breaks. So I tend to hyper focus. So when I'm focused, I'm totally focused, and I forget to drink water or go to the toilet and those sort of things. So if you can share any of your ways you've loved yourself and perhaps not quite managed it. And if you'd rather speak, you can unmute, but it will be recorded. I can pause, but that's a little tricky. So maybe for now we can use the chat unless you want to be recorded. So I'll just read a few of these out anonymously because it's good for those who are watching on recording to hear. Self-love, met a friend, went out for lunch, laughed together and hugged my daughter. Brilliant. So I did some laughing today as well, and it was good. It was good to remember that it's much easier to laugh when we're actually meeting other human beings than to laugh on our own. I realize that. Okay, so someone shares that they shared with students about a hearing loss, which made it much easier because they were more patient. That's really good. So that's courage. That takes courage and vulnerability, but it sounds like it had really positive results. It fell short because I wanted to get up early and exercise, but I kept snoozing. Yeah, so this is where the self-compassion comes in, because yeah, we can't all, I don't know, it's tricky, isn't it? I think, yeah, if we can get up early and exercise, brilliant. If we need to snooze, we snooze. This is where the self-compassion comes in, and perhaps understanding, was that more self-loving to have more sleep and rest, or was it avoidance? Was it more self-harming? Like what was the result? Um, Went for a walk, let go of an issue, wash and iron some different clothes to wear to work. I felt more cared for and washed my hair. Yeah, prioritizing yourself to be here, even though it was difficult to leave in time. Yeah, I think that's really relevant. I'll talk about that in a while because I know these calls aren't hugely convenient times for everyone because of work, but um, I think it's really important if you can leave work on time and make it here. So well done for doing that. Took screen break, get coffee, soothe myself from being let down last minute. Yeah, still feel peed off, but we'll revisit. Yeah. Didn't drink enough water, ate 2 bags of crisps. So I find it interesting to explore what was going on in those moments. Like, why don't I drink enough water? Uh, yeah, it's quite basic, isn't it, drinking water? I know my mum had a huge problem drinking water. She didn't drink very much at all, especially in her later life. Um, for me, I need to be more conscious and more mindful. So I become mindless when I'm working, when I'm busy. I lose connection with my needs. Sometimes I don't realize I need the toilet. Um, and I think eating for me, normally if I'm eating, what I would be best to do is to ask myself if I'm thirsty, because often the drinking, I'd be better to drink first rather than eat. Um, and it might be interesting to explore why I'm eating, what feelings were going on. Was I anxious? Was I bored? Was I stressed? Someone shares that they didn't have lunch, a few crackers and cheese around 3, didn't go to the loo all day. Um, Ate 2 Kit Kats and just about made it here. Yeah. So I imagine that we're talking about busy schedules, busy jobs, and I totally relate to not going to the loo, not drinking water, and then eating crisps and Kit Kats. Absolutely made a whole career out of doing that. Um, well done for sharing that here. Well done for sharing the truth. And I think it's about thinking about how I ended up in that position and what can I do tomorrow to do it a little bit differently. Um, Ate crisps and ate more than I needed. Self-critical in a work meeting. I'm pleased I'm not the only one with a crisp issue. Such crisps are my go-to. They're so crunchy and salty and moreish. Yeah, and also feel a little less naughty than chocolate, I find. Um, so, this is obviously one of my specialist subjects, eating, and I always have to ask myself what was going on, what was going on. And normally there's a snowball effect, like perhaps I rushed, or perhaps I didn't have breakfast, or perhaps I didn't prepare lunch. There's a snowball effect, and that ends up with the Kit Kats or the crisps. Um, yeah. So what message? I don't know. Is that I don't know who you refer to, but I agree with that message. What message are we giving our nervous system in a child if we ignore needs for the loo or when thirsty? Absolutely. And this is why the reparenting is so important. What do I need? What do I need right now? I mean, I'm very good at taking water for the dog and worrying about her drinking. And if I had a child, I'm sure it would be the same. Not so good at doing that for myself. Follow some training, cook something for lunch, which I usually skip. Um, had to skip exercise because a friend needed help. So that's an interesting scenario, whether that was, wonderful to help people out. But if that happens all the time and we neglect ourselves in favor of helping others, then that might be something to think about. So I'm such a well-being junkie. Listen to so many positive podcasts and watch YouTube videos. I feel I may need to protect myself a bit, as it means I know what to do. And then I'm more aware when I'm not doing it. Any tips? I'm not sure if I totally understand. I know what I do. I know what to do. So we have all the knowledge. So, I mean, I understand because my therapist says this to me all the time. Like, you have all the knowledge and the awareness. Like, I am the most trauma-informed, well-being informed person. So we have all the awareness. We have to find a way to take the action, and so we have to find, and normally this comes with support of other human beings. It's quite basic, because the thing about all the knowledge is like, we understand these really complex things and they're really complicated and we have huge amounts of knowledge and awareness, but actually doing the practical things like drinking a glass of water or going to the gym, any of that is challenging. And so that's where I think we need support. We need accountability. We need really practical tools, because the knowledge doesn't help us. The knowledge doesn't help us. Do you want to speak? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just expand on what I meant. So, there's an element of not doing the behavior, so not doing what I've learned that I know is useful. But it's also because I've got all that knowledge about what is useful, I've got all these ideas from various people that I think are really useful. I think sometimes that feels a bit like pressure, or it feels like lots of expectation. So I think what I'm saying is, as well as the doing it, it's the being compassionate that's the hardest bit. It's about when it doesn't happen, because it feels like, because I'm so well informed, that it becomes a bit too much of a big exercise to achieve, because I'm not doing it bit by bit. I'm overwhelming myself with too much,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm spending too much time on the positive stuff rather than the actual like applying what I've learned, if you know what I mean. And then I'm
Yeah.
not being compassionate afterwards. So it's a bit of a
Yeah. My instinct there is is about trusting yourself more, and listening to yourself more. Like, really, and this is an emotional maturity thing, that because I mean, information and coaches, obviously I'm one, and gurus and podcasts, and that's all brilliant. But what we want to find it within us. We want to really connect with ourselves and say, what is it that I need right now? And why am I not doing it if I'm not doing it? We really want to, because it sounds like a bit information overload and then something to beat yourself up with. So perhaps it's about really thinking clearly about, what is it that I need on a daily basis or a weekly basis? What is it that I need, not what people tell me that I need? What is it that I need? And how do I do that? And I think it is about trusting yourself, trusting ourselves, because looking to outside sources, we can get a lot of information, but I've always been someone who has believed that the information that the answer is outside of myself rather than inside of myself. So we have to develop that trust in ourselves that the answer is inside of myself, and work on the self-compassion, and the self-acceptance, and find our own rhythm with this. find our own rhythm with our self-care. Yeah. So someone else says they detached from a friend's complex issues. Yeah. Accept that she will do what she will do. So as we can see, we all have a mix of, positive self-caring steps that we have taken. And then we all, because we're human, we all fall down a little bit in some areas. And it's about looking at the areas in which we fall down and asking ourselves, what was going on there? What was did I set myself up to fail? Which is quite a good question that I like and often see. I have set myself up to fail. So I've set myself up to eat crisps and eat chocolate because I haven't set myself up to succeed. Or I haven't set myself up to go to the gym. So, if I want to swim in the sea first thing in the morning, the most self-loving thing to do is to set that up the night before. So pack a rather complex bag of stuff. Set it up the night before. If I want to go to a yoga class, the best thing to do is to set it up in advance. Not like finish a call and then run around the house like crazy, forgetting all manner of things. I haven't set myself up to succeed. So again, we're talking about a good parent. So I don't know what kind of parents you had or are familiar with, but I guess nobody's perfect, or I don't know what parent you are if you are a parent, but nobody is perfect. So, we either have the parent who is reasonably organized and manages to pack the lunch and the trainers and the gym kit, or the parent who's totally forgotten all the child's kit and has to go back to school halfway through the day. And that's who we want to be to ourselves. We want, as much as possible, without perfection, to be a good parent and set ourselves up to succeed. So one thing, if we struggle around food, would be to make sure there are healthy snacks in our vicinity, or to make sure we have pre-prepared our lunch, or got vegetables in for dinner and all those things. And I know it's not easy with busy lives, but that is important to do, to set ourselves up to succeed. So self-parenting, I think it's a really big topic, but I think it's fundamental to all of the things that we talked about. And it comes back to the rather painful point that, let me just see this question. I'll come, yeah. What time of day do you do your planning back for the next day? Well, if I was doing it perfectly, I don't do it all the time. What I try to do when I finish my work is to make sure I know what's happening tomorrow. So say when I finish this call will be finishing a bit late for me than I would normally work, but I would probably look at my diary and just check what's in it. I might check the weather, and I might think, okay, that's my window tomorrow for doing some form of exercise, and then I would think accordingly. I do make lunch every day the night before, and I do that while I'm making dinner. Yeah. So I think the best time to prep for me would be like when dinner is cooking. I make lunch, make dinner, and pack something for the next day if I need to. I think that would be the best time, because once sort of 8 o'clock happens, I don't, yeah, I lose motivation to pack or plan anything. but I suppose it comes down to our personality. Some people would find this a lot easier. And I think this is sort of the deeper question of whether we are, whether we find it easy or not easy to take care of ourselves and our needs. And that goes to the deeper question of how lovable and valuable do we feel? And that goes to the deeper question of, were we treated as valuable as children? Did we feel valuable as children? You know, it's very hard to love ourselves consistently, to meet our needs consistently, if we got a message at some point in our life that our needs aren't valid, or we're not allowed to have needs, or it's not safe to have needs, or we're not entirely lovable. So, you know, those of you who've worked with me before, you know, this is the deep question, that this is the healing we have to do. And some of you have done with me, you know, how lovable do I feel? And why is it hard for me to take care of my needs and wants, and to drink water and to eat healthy food? And what messages am I sending to myself if I'm not doing that? So, yeah, I'll just ask you that question that you might want to just think about and consider in the chat. This is quite a deep question. Do you feel that you were treated with love and care consistently? Or what messages or core beliefs did you take away from your childhood? You can answer it whatever way you want, whatever comes up. Yeah, so someone said no, but not intentionally, and absolutely. You know, our caregivers did the best with what they had. For many of us, that there has been generational, multi-generational challenges or trauma. So, you know, my mom learned from her parents. She took away the messages that she wasn't valuable and her needs didn't matter, and she carried that into her own life in the way she treated herself. And then I observed that and received sometimes care, sometimes not. And then I treat myself the same, sometimes care, sometimes not. So that's the template that might go back generations and generations and generations. There's a template that is placed upon us, and it is our job to acknowledge it and understand where it comes from, and then do the missing bit, do the reparenting bit. So take care of ourselves. Take care of ourselves. Meet the needs that weren't met. Sort of close the circle, really. You know, rather than perpetuate what was done to them and what was done to us, rather than perpetuate the template, we want to close the circle and start again, start afresh. So I've heard it called boring self-care, but it's the things like changing my sheets, tidying my clothes, dusting and hoovering that I find difficult. I've just realized that as soon as I was old enough, I did these things for myself. My childhood home was untidy and cleaning wasn't a priority beyond the basics. Now I struggle with it. So what I sense there is there's an inner teenager who was annoyed, or perhaps an inner child. I'm not sure what age you had to start cleaning, but an inner child or teenager who just wanted to be a child or teenager and play and go out and do their own thing, but ended up doing some parenting jobs. Yeah, it depends what age we think it's appropriate for kids to start doing cleaning. But what I hear is you took on some parenting roles too soon, which leaves us feeling resentful and annoyed. And then we don't want to do it. So I think the part of you that doesn't want to do the cleaning now is a teenager, I think. And that teenager needs an outlet. So how can you meet the teenager's needs in other ways? Like, is she getting enough fun? Is she getting enough play? Is she getting enough music or whatever she likes so that she doesn't feel hard done by? Because I think she feels hard done by. And then with those jobs, yeah, I think it's an opportunity to connect with yourself and which part of me is resisting doing these jobs, and then talk to that part of you and soothe that part of you. So someone says, didn't feel like I could be me, so it was hard to know who I was. That's very profound. And I think many people will relate to that, like not knowing I don't know who I am. And I didn't know who I was when I started my healing journey. Didn't know who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like, what my preferences were. So we have to find out who we are. Yeah. So someone's saying that it's easier to clean and tidy for other people. And I guess we can probably all relate to that. If someone's visiting, we go a bit mad with the cleaning and tidying. So somehow we need to translate that to our inner selves, that we are worthy of living in a clean and tidy environment. That we are worthy of that. I mean, it depends on the individual, but I think, I think there could be an inner teenager thing going on that I want to rebel. But I think that, trying to talk to that side of us and encourage her to, yeah, soothe her and then do it in little bits, obviously. So, okay, for the next half hour, we're just going to do some dusting. Just half an hour of dusting. Put on some loud music. Set yourself up to succeed. I think that's the other thing, isn't it? We don't set ourselves up to succeed. So what would make the whole cleaning, tidying thing more palatable? We got a new Hoover. That makes it a lot easier. It actually works. I made some non-toxic cleaning fluids, which I feel much happier using in the bathroom. That took me weeks, months after creating the first batch. I had to create the second batch. I just stalled and stalled and stalled for months, and the bathroom didn't get cleaned because I don't want to use the toxic stuff. And I finally did it, and I felt so much happier cleaning the bathroom with what I wanted to clean it with. So there's resistance. There's going to be resistance. I think we have to try and take ourselves by the hand. Is there any other self-caring things that you struggle with particularly? Preparing food, exercising, making time for healthy relationships, making time for dating, if you're in that position. Is there anything else you struggle with? Yeah, it feels a lot better when we tidy up. I definitely feel the same. So someone says, I was taken care of physically very well, but not emotionally, very limited understanding of emotion or acknowledgement of it. Yeah. So, and this is why it's important to take the time to do this sort of work, because we often dismiss. So if we had sort of physical neglect, it would be very obvious, it would be very plain, but this emotional neglect or abandonment or whatever we want to call it, it doesn't feel as serious as the other stuff. So we don't validate it. And that was something that we talked about, self-validation. So emotional connection with our caregivers and emotional support is absolutely vital to our survival, as much as, I don't know if as much, but it is vital. So validating our own emotions, if they weren't validated when we were children, that's going to be hard, but it's very important. Taking time to feel our feelings, to acknowledge what's going on, because we tend to treat ourselves how we were treated until we learn and change and treat ourselves differently. Yeah, not putting all my energy into work and then collapsing. So this is very important and very common with women I work with and with me. And it's quite a hard habit to break, but you know, when you think about, yeah, I just find it really quite profound to think about, I think as I age and enter different life stages, to really think about what's important. And what is important are connections and relationships and people and love, and sometimes we throw ourselves into work because it's easier and we're better at it than humans, connections, love, relationships. So you know, we feel more self-esteem, we feel more confident in our work lives, we feel more in control. Actually, that's it, isn't it? We feel more in control. Whereas sometimes in relationships or the messy human stuff, we can't control it. So sometimes we avoid it and just do the work. Is resistance similar to procrastination? Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm just trying to differentiate them, but I think they are very similar. If anyone else has any thoughts on that, I think I mean, yeah, I think we want to try and understand what is going on. What is going on? Why am I resisting? Why am I procrastinating? Because there might be different reasons. Is it fear? Is it avoidance? You know, that there are some schools of thought that some procrastination is good because it gives us a bit more time. Maybe we need more time. So we don't always want to beat ourselves up for procrastinating. Maybe we just needed more time. And that's okay. I think the resistance is definitely, you know, comes from fear. So just exercise. Yeah. So it's very hard to keep going and trying new things and persevering to build habits. Feel very alone with it. No one else understands or experiences it, but I know I have to be extremely gentle with myself. Yeah, so gentleness is very important. Finding something you enjoy. You know, I'll just share this in case it's useful. So incorporating small, really, you know, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to go for a run. You don't have to swim in the sea, which takes huge amounts of time with all the stuff you've got to take. So I'm doing about 10 minutes in between shower and getting dressed. So basically in my underwear, I'm doing 10 minutes of squats, leg lifts, couple of press ups. And I have been for about 2 weeks most days. I tend to have a cold shower, so it warms me up after the shower. Um, so I've been doing that 10 minutes, I'd say, for the last 2 weeks, and I feel much better in my body. I feel stronger, I feel tighter in a good way, like less, less soft. Um, I feel more stable. I mean, this isn't a vanity thing for me. My husband's dragging me along to another ski trip, and unless I'm fit and strong and stable, I will hurt myself. So it is in my interests to feel fit, strong, stable, aligned, good core. So I do sit-ups, press-ups, some squats and things like that, 10 minutes between shower and clothes. And if that's all I do, that's absolutely enough. But feeling alone with it suggests that you need help. And I know there was something in one of our groups about getting support and perhaps joining something. I've had mixed experiences of joining like fitness groups and things like that. But personal trainer, if you can afford that, or just one session, or yeah. But understanding the story that's going on around it is important. And being really gentle. So thank you for those comments. I'm just gonna speak about one other topic which I think is really important, which is self-fulfillment. And I'd love you to just comment on that in the chat. So it was day 13, and it was about making sure that as much as possible we feel fulfilled across the board, so that we are not just doing our work, coming home and collapsing, but we have good social connections, we have some hobbies, we have a passion. I know some of you well, and I know you have dreams and passions and a sense of purpose, and it's hard to keep up the momentum sometimes towards these dreams. But this is another important act of self-love. So I was sharing about my novel that I was writing. I am writing. Went to a novelist conference, and I really noticed that when I'm not sort of aligned, when I'm not doing my purpose, so when I'm not just the writing, but this sort of work as well, if I'm not doing it, I feel really quite dull and a little bit depressed. So yeah, I'm wondering if where you are in terms of fulfillment. And those of you who are single and interested in a relationship, feeling reasonably fulfilled in our lives is really important in order to not go dating with a craving, with a hole inside, with a longing for, please fix me, please fix me. I shared, I think, on one of the videos about, so when I was in my 30s, I was working in Parliament as a journalist, and I knew I was done with it. I didn't know how to get out. So I thought my boyfriend at the time would fix everything. So he was living in Washington. So if I moved to Washington, then something would sort itself out. But that was me putting all my eggs in his basket. So can you fix me, please? And that's not a good basis for a relationship. I'm unhappy. Can you fix me? Not a good basis for a relationship. And it was only when I not no point at no point did I achieve any degree of perfection in this, but when I had quit my job, started my blog, done some pieces, written some stuff about well-being, and got in touch with my passion for writing about much more interesting stuff than politics, that I met my now husband, because I was in a much happier place. I was also connected with more friends. I was doing more my hobbies. I was exercising and cycling and being outdoors. So just if you'd like to share, where are you, do you think, in terms of self-fulfillment, and what step could you take to feel more fulfilled? So we have, I'm fulfilled in some areas, travel, leisure, fun. That's all brilliant. Well done. And less so in others. A bit too comfortable. Work is good, but there's potential for greater fulfillment, and I'd like to make more of a difference. So yeah, I know you have a reasonable idea of what it is that would bring more fulfillment. And yeah, you might just want to think before I suggest anything, but you might just want to think about, and we don't want to try and shake everything up at the same time. So, making sure we feel stable at home and are having fun and travel and leisure, that's all really important. And then trying to create a little bit of headspace to take a little step towards something else. And often for those of us who are very busy, we have to try and find a way to take something out of the diary if we're going to add something in. So if you're going to do some research or some alternative work or anything, we often need to make sure we're not just piling more stuff in. Struggled with commitment to doing things I love. So not being fulfilled in some areas because of this. Yeah. Yeah. I think we all struggle to do the things we love, which it sounds mad, doesn't it, that we do, but we do. And I think on the one hand, it's human, and then for some of us, there are deeper issues around, I don't feel like I deserve it, or consistent self-love wasn't modeled to me, those sort of things. Like to make more friends in the same situation, travel more, have more fun. So great. Major fulfillment comes from work. It's great that work is fulfilling. And there is little space for other things. But I do hear about a day of singing, which is wonderful. Nourished me with connection, singing, and fun. Absolutely. That's wonderful. Need more balance. Yeah. So like with doing the things that we love, finding balance, step by step, tiny steps, often committing, accountability partners, buddies, that sort of thing. Very important. Yeah, there isn't much time to prioritize making time for my dreams. I know when I was working full time, there was absolutely no window of opportunity to think about what to do next. And yeah, I suppose, well, that was my job at the time, and I know everyone's in a different position, but in my case, I just kept going until I crashed. So I don't wish that for you. The only way I could stop and create space to find out what I wanted to do with my life was to hit the wall, crash, get signed off work, and then quit. So I don't want that for you. So in order to avoid that, what tiny little steps might you need to make? I imagine everyone here is giving too much to their work. I'm pretty sure you all are. So, and then why do we do that? Well, because some of us are people pleasers and we get our self-esteem from the outside rather than the inside, or if we feel like we're in control, if we're giving too much and controlling too much. So there's always a deeper reason why we overdo it, overwork, overfill, cram. Yeah, so take small steps like spending more time with friends. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be a massive shift. It can make a huge difference. Just I had a week last week of not seeing many people friends wise, and then today I saw a friend and just makes a huge difference to my mood. So I think that's really important. I think that's actually, if we think about sort of hierarchy of needs, not necessarily Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but my hierarchy of needs. We need the foundations of like feeling connected, having good friends, having good networks. We kind of need that in place, I think. So that might be somewhere to focus. Yeah. And if we struggle with commitment to do things with friends, to arrange things, it's about accountability. So like I think it's so useful to check in with people or with a group and just say, I commit this month to reaching out to 2 friends and arranging social engagements. And I commit to 2 outings or to 2 phone calls or texts or something, or to 2 arrangements, and committing and following through. Yeah. Yeah, because everyone struggles with this. So I think accountability is really important. Somebody says they're discovering phone calls, how good it is to yak on the phone while not going out. That's a very good point. Gosh, I think we used to make a lot more phone calls, didn't we? I certainly did. I think we spend a lot of time on text and WhatsApp these days, but yeah, good old phone calls. So self-fulfillment. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like some huge grand gesture. It can be, how do I feel happier every day? And I think I talked about that in one of the other, maybe I talked about that in self-fulfillment in one of the videos. How do I feel happier every day? How do I lift my spirits? How do I lift my mood? And just thinking about the other topics we explored, they're all related. So self-respect. How do I respect myself? Well, I respect myself by committing to doing some exercise, by committing to making some nice food. How do I esteem myself? it's the same thing. Self-pacing, self-soothing, self-validation, self-parenting, self-care. And these three, which I kind of clump together, self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, and self-compassion, self-honesty, and self-connection. So self-compassion, self-acceptance, self-care, self-forgiveness. If we don't, we can set ourselves little goals and targets and baby steps. And then if we don't complete them, what we don't want to do is beat ourselves up. We want to understand why, what was it that got in the way? And we want to then try and get some accountability to take those steps and those actions. I'm going to start wrapping up, but I'm just, while we're still on the recording, what's going to happen is I'll just talk a little more on the recording, and then I'll switch it off and ask you a couple of questions and can have a little chat. So I'm talking about accountability, and I would love to continue to support you to be accountable around these things or anything else that you're looking for. So I'm going to put all this in an email to you, but there'll be two options. One is anyone who specifically would like to go through my How to Fall in Love, Laying the Foundations and Date with Courage, Clarity and Confidence courses, which are my wonderful courses that some people here have done with great results. So anyone who'd like to go through those courses, there'll be an option to do that over 3 months or 6 months, depending on whether you want to do one or two. That they are small group courses. They include group coaching calls. If you have already been through those programs or one of them, or been on a retreat, because I know lots of you are in different positions. So if you've been through the programs, done one course, been on a retreat, or done some coaching with me, there is an option to join those programs anyway for a lesser fee. If you want to revise, or if you want to stay in those circles around healthy relationships. And then there will be an option to continue what I call a lighter touch. So kind of a monthly accountability group, I suppose we could call it, but calling it the Love Collective, which is what we had in late last year. So there'll be a monthly group call, and I think I'll bring all the groups back to Facebook, so there'll be a Facebook group. So I'll put those options in an email to you, and you can ask me questions or book a discovery call to see what you might want to do. And both options are for the next 6 months, so take us to the end of July. Yeah, so I'm going to ask you as well when we switch the recording off what you might be interested in, because that's really helpful to me. And anything that you are interested in, especially the group programs, there is a discount. There is a discount for those of you who have been working with me. So I'll put all that in an email to you. So thanks very much, those watching on recording. Yeah, please look out for an email as well with follow-on details, and please email me with any questions. And it's been a pleasure to take this 14 days with you. And if you know anyone else who might benefit from it, I've created a standalone course. So the videos that you all watched, obviously they're in that course platform. So if you'd like to share it with anyone else, I can send you the link to that. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. Goodbye, those of you watching on recording.